A winter storm is moving across the southern states, and it will make the turn up the East Coast for Saturday, whatever that was. Joe and Joe Rayo and myself, Joe Chaffee, will have all the latest on what hopefully is the last winter storm of the season, because frankly, we're both tired. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue. You could make it a 2-for-1, folks. You could go to Omni to make sure you've got whatever you need to get any snow or ice off your the front of your home, or maybe the front of your business. And at the same time, think about getting mulch and topsoil and gravel for this coming spring to make your yard the envy of the neighborhood. They have it all there for you. Lowest prices anywhere in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. And of course, we all know that the website is
OmniTrueValue.com. Joe.
Yes. Hi. So we're here on a rare Friday night because we do have a winter storm to deal with for tomorrow. But of course, that doesn't stop you from descending into the depths of tech hell.
Oh,
Welcome.
God.
You can feel the flames around you. I've been in and out of tech hell every bit of the last month. Actually, more than that. It's been almost a month and a half. As soon as one problem gets solved, a new one appears. So I'm happy to have
Well,
your company.
did what I normally do each day around 11 o'clock after having breakfast and cleaning up upstairs around the house. Came down to my office here and tried to get online and found that I couldn't. Now, sometimes that happens, and I know that if that happens, all I need to do is to shut my computer down and also turn off my Wi-Fi and then just bring everything back up, and it usually goes right back to normal. Didn't do it this time. And that was the start of, as you just mentioned, Joe, tech hell. And from that moment, from about 11:30 this morning up until just a short while ago, I have been battling and battling. And finally, I just threw up my arms, gave up, and went to the store where we purchased my my computer. And thankfully, I have a special warranty on everything that I purchased there, including my phone, my iPhone, my wife's iPhone. So this isn't going to cost me anything, but I wish I had known that before I wasted, and I underscore that word, wasted, many hours online with the people who made the computer and offered me. I thought I had purchased 2 years ago a warranty where, with this company, I will not mention the name of the company, but I thought I had purchased something where they could help me out and it wouldn't cost me anything. No, they tried to help me out, but in the process, it cost me $50. And then they put me on a monthly for like $14.95 a month. You know, you can get regular checkups and everything. I just called them back and yelled at them and said, forget about it.
Right.
Cancel that. And my computer is in the shop, so to speak. And they told me it'll take a few days, a couple of days, 2-3 days at most, to get it all back. Going to have to do some work after I get it back, because there are going to be some things that I'm going to have to put back on the computer. But I don't want to annoy all of you and annoy you, Joe.
Look, I would just say to you this. I'll just say to you this. Try not to buy from Mr. Haney. Okay? just try not to buy from Mr. Haney.
Well, Mr. Douglas,
yes,
I can get you a great computer. Yeah. I did, however, have a chance. We in fact, when Renata texted you, Joe, we were at Applebee's, because after a long, hard day of all of this tech hell and everything else, we went and we decided we would treat ourselves to a dinner. And while we were there, on the iPhone, I was able to take a look at some of the maps.
Okay, well,
and
that's good.
You know what? I honestly believe, Joe, from the map that I had posted yesterday, that I don't think there's very much to change. as far as the snow
Well,
accumulations are concerned. And
all I did, well, actually, I up until about a little after 3, I had drawn a new final call snowfall forecast map, which all I did.
Christiapedia, Christiapedia, yes, it was the Geek Squad
Yes.
that has possession of my computer right now. And if they do as well as I think they're going to do, I will shout them to the sky, shout them to the heavens, because they seem to have been able to identify the problem, and now they're just going to hopefully bring my internet and everything else back to life. But in the
Glory.
meantime,
No,
I'm using my wife's laptop computer. This is the same machine, Joe, by the way, that I communicated with you and everybody when we were down in Antarctica back in December. And it
it's
seems
fine.
it not only works in Antarctica, but it also works up here north of the equator.
Right, exactly. Exactly. It would probably even work in Santiago, Chile. Da da da. All right, so
Yeah.
let's get back to the snow maps. So you didn't change yours. I
No,
I drew a new one, and all I did was really just nudge the numbers up a little bit. Okay, just especially in Pennsylvania and in upstate New York, and I just moved a couple of lines around, and I just waited. I mean, honestly, the difference really, we're talking about maybe some places that I had it for an inch, I moved them up to 2. Big deal. I mean, we're not talking about going from an inch to 6, okay? These were minor changes, and I just kind of should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And then I read a comment from somebody who who just pissed me off. So I decided to, based on that comment, that I went with the new one. Shall I show it to you?
sure.
Sure. Shall we? Shall
Better to be pissed off than pissed on,
right?
Joe.
Shall we? Surely. Let's do
Oh,
that.
we, yeah,
Yes. Okay.
yes.
So let's do that. By the way, welcome to everybody on this Friday night. A rare Friday night for the Joe and Joe Weather Show, because usually we take Fridays and Saturdays off. But being that this might be the last winter storm of the season, uh, well, we're here. So all I really did was I where I had the 1 inch line, I now have a 2 inch line. That's basically the biggest change I have. And I just kind of pushed the 1 inch line on Long Island a little bit further east of the Suffolk County, and the trace line a little bit further east. I also went for what would be a coating to an inch south of the blue line that comes in New Jersey and goes down through central Delaware and south of Washington and Baltimore. These are, we're talking minor changes here. The 4 inch line is probably in about the same spot. The 2 inch line is a little bit further south and east. The 6 inch line is at about the same spot, and I just added. Um, Yesterday, I just had a 4 inch line. I didn't have a 6 inch line, so I put 6 to 8 with pockets of 10 plus. So our maps were very close yesterday with some minor differences. They're even closer today with even smaller differences than yesterday. I, you can make a case if I looked at all the models today and this evening. They all seem to have their own little kinks in them in terms of how they're handling all of this, the stuff that's going on. So I just kind of decided that the Europeans' view of it was the one that was, I would say, the smoothest, in the sense that just kind of made sense. The NAM had all these, the NAM had these pockets where some places would get some and other places wouldn't. The GFS the same. They uptrended a little bit, but I'm pretty comfortable with what I went with here.
Okay, that's good. I've seen or heard of. We have one person, a service actually here in the Hudson Valley that does forecasts for the Hudson Valley, and I looked at their forecast and I said, quite honestly, now I may be eating crow on Sunday, but they went for, I mean, for my area and especially for points north, 4 to 8 inches, and I honestly, I think for my area we're going to, break it down this way. South of I 287, if you're in the Hudson Valley, expect an inch or two. North of 287, 2 to 4 inches. North of Interstate 84, the 84 corridor, 4 to 6. And as you go progressively further north, let's say on up toward and west, up toward, let's say, Binghamton and areas in central New York. I mean, that's where I think you're going to get the jackpot. That's where you're going to see at least 8, maybe 10 or 12 inches, maybe even a touch more, depending upon elevation. And I think right here in the immediate tri-state area, we're looking at general totals of anywhere from like an inch to maybe 4 or 5 inches. Again, the more you go north and west, the more the snow may pile up. The big question, Joe, and it is a big question, is how quickly will the cold air advection that will be wrapping around this bomb cyclone, this storm that's going to be going bombogenesis in our backyard, how quickly will that cold air funnel in and change everything over? If it starts changing over by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, you're going to get a bigger total. But
Yeah.
if you are waiting still, if you're waiting until like,
If it waits till 1 or 2 o'clock or 2 or 3 o'clock, you're going to get less. Clearly, it's a short window. It's a short, roughly 6 hours, maybe 7 hours, where you've got a chance to put it down. And the other thing I would just add to that is that in terms of the dynamics of the vertical motions, it's pretty impressive. So perhaps, and also given the time of year, uh, you could sometimes snow unusually hard in this time of during the month of March. It's not like
yes.
you're not like in the dead of winter of January. The tops on some of this stuff go a little higher, and you could get some really big flakes and solid accumulation rates. If that winds up outperforming, then yeah, somebody's going to get much higher than what's advertised. But you're playing with a lot of between the short window and then the big variable of the timing of the cold air and how fast does it come in. Those are all those are variables that can make or break your forecast. And then, by the way, I have a winter weather advisory up too, I want you to know. And in the counties next to me, to the west of me, not very far, maybe about 20 miles, winter storm warnings are up for 2 to 4 inches. They're going 1 to 3 for me and 2 to 4 for the winter storm warning counties to the west here in North Georgia. So
That's interesting
I'm with you again.
because because of the four lowest counties in the Hudson Valley, Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and Orange County. Three of them, Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam, and I am in Putnam, have a winter weather advisory for snow amounts generally on the order of 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 inches. The only county that is on a winter storm warning, and I've often said this here on Joe and Joe, it seems to stand alone. It has its own microclimate, is Orange County. Orange County, the forecast is from the folks at the National Weather Service, the potential for 4 to 7 inches of snow. And of course, especially in places in Orange north of 84, the elevation goes to like 1,500 feet or above. So you will get your heavier amounts, higher amounts in particular that part of Orange County, as opposed to the rest of Orange County. And again, meanwhile, for the other counties in the vicinity, just a winter weather advisory for, again, just a few inches, 2, 3 inches, maybe 4 inches of snow with all of this. And you're right, Joe. It's a short window. It's a fast-moving, hard-hitting storm. I don't know if you got a view of the NAM Foose last night.
Yeah,
my eyes bulged last night when I saw the NAM Foose.
Yeah.
They had for LaGuardia Airport, and I had to show Renata because Renata remembers the LFM Foose and then later the NGM and now the NAM Foose. I said, guess what? The NAM Foose is giving us a vertical velocity of 72.3. And she looked at me and she said, is that possible? Is that physically possible? I said, I'm only repeating what the NAM is showing. The NAM was also giving 1.9 inches of precipitation, liquid precipitation, in a 6-hour interval. I have not seen anything like that since Ida last summer.
That was either a convective feedback, Joe, or the entire crust of the Earth will lift up off the ground and just fly up into the atmosphere.
Absolutely, because the last 3 runs of the NAM, including the last 2 intermediate runs and the 12Z run this morning, are now cutting that down considerably to more like 6 or 8 tenths of an inch. in 6 hours.
Which
Now,
makes sense.
granted,
And that's impressive.
that
That's impressive in and of itself.
granted, that is not a shabby total to get
No.
6 or 8 tenths in 6 hours, but it's nothing compared to almost getting two
No,
inches
I know.
in a single 6 hour
I know.
interval
Maybe
period.
it must have caught a
Now,
thunderstorm maybe right overhead or something.
and the interesting thing now also is that with the T1, the boundary level temperature, it starts off at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is as of the 18Z Foose I looked at a little while ago. As of 7 a.m., it has a T1 of +7, much, much too warm for any kind of frozen precipitation. But by 1 o'clock, just 6 hours later, I believe it goes down to like -1 or -2, which means that you've got a 9 Celsius drop in temperature over a 6 hour interval from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And of course, if the temperatures do go down that quickly, yes, you will see a very rapid transition from rain to sleet and then finally over to snow.
Okay. So let's go through some of the watches and warnings that are up because there are a lot of them tonight. And Joe Rayo, can you monitor the chat board?
I'm monitoring away right as I'm
Okay, so
speaking
Joe
to you.
Rayo's monitoring the chat board. If you have any questions or comments, by all means, please share them. If you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome and welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which we do usually Sunday at 11 a.m. and Monday through Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But we added this Friday show because of what's going on, and who knows, maybe we'll do one tomorrow midday when transition is occurring. Joe and I will discuss this. Winter storm warnings up, but from northeastern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northwest Georgia, but not to I'm the first county in the winter weather advisory, which do not extend down to Atlanta, by the way. There's also a lot of wind advisories up from Texas up through Georgia, south and interior South North Carolina, and Virginia. The winter storm warnings continue through the eastern half of Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, southwest Virginia, West Virginia, southeast Ohio, a good chunk of Pennsylvania, a very good chunk of upstate New York, all of Vermont, western Massachusetts, and northern New Hampshire and northern Maine. Winter weather advisories on the southern flank. We have wind advisories from southeast coastal New England to Long Island, south coastal Connecticut, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, coastal Virginia, coastal North Carolina, and then, as we said, down into the southeast and even in the Florida Panhandle. So very, very busy with respect to the winter weather here that's being produced. And I've got the National Weather Service, the Weather Service digital forecast of snow amounts. Now, remember, across the South, the threshold for winter storm warnings is a lot lower than the threshold uh, for up with you Yankees. But we're seeing basically 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 2 to 4 type inch amounts from Arkansas east across northern Alabama and northern Georgia. Also some 4 to 6 inch amounts in eastern Tennessee, 4 for Knoxville. I think they were giving 3 or 4 for Chattanooga, which is only about an hour and a half's drive from where I am. Further north, we're looking at 4 to 6 inch amounts in eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, southeast Ohio. And again, this is a fast-moving system, folks. So there's not enough time to put down higher amounts. I mean, you'd really have to snow to beat the band to get numbers higher than this. And a lot of these places are going to be snow from the start, so they're not even fighting the rain changeover. In Pennsylvania, uh, most areas in Pennsylvania between 4 and 8 inches, maybe the southeast around Philadelphia a little bit lower, 2 to 3 inches there, a coating to an inch being indicated south and east of the Washington, D.C. Baltimore area, a couple of inches for Washington, D.C., 2, 3, or 4 in and around and northwest of Baltimore. Up the coast of Long Island, where the Weather Service is going for a coating to an inch. I went a little bit more, 2 inches for New York City, northwest parts of New Jersey into the Hudson Valley, west of the Hudson, 5, 6 inch plus amounts. Further up the Hudson Valley, you're looking at Albany with 8, 9, and some 10-inch amounts there. Back over to Syracuse. They drop off a bit as you get to Rochester and Buffalo. And it also drops off in across southern and southeastern New England. The amounts tail off because of the way this is tracking. It's going to be a little bit warmer in those areas. The cold air is probably not going to come in time. And then up in Maine, way up in northern Maine, where you could see a foot plus, and also in northern Vermont and New Hampshire. And WPC, I've been watching these WPC maps all day long, Joe. Every time they updated the forecast, and they've just been kind of inching the probability of at least two, which was here, and now it's back. Okay, but this is the probability of at least two, and they've now pushed the 50% line into New York City. Started out this morning, it was north and west of New York City, and they did 3 updates, and each one they moved it by a handful of miles, but they've got it down to now where they've got the 2-inch line, 50% chance of at least two, right over New York City, just south and east of Philadelphia, northern Delaware, on down through the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. And I'm just going to jump really quick and do the probability of at least 6. We'll skip 4 and just go right to 6. And you'll see that the probability of at least 6 is in northeast PA, actually the darkest blue is 40%. The next shade is 50%. So let's talk about 50% chance in northeast PA, and then running up through the northern part of the Catskills, and then heading up to the Adirondacks, and then north and east into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So I don't have too much of a problem with this forecast. It kind of makes sense to me. So let's take a look at a couple of models. I've got the 3-kilometer NAM, Joe, because the last storm, the last couple of systems we had, it actually did pretty well, so I figure I'll stick with it. And those of you who were looking at the NAM snowfall forecast maps, be very careful because, especially on the 3-kilometer NAM, because an area of sleet is being indicated. So if you're looking at the snow maps on Tropical Tidbits, they don't take sleet out of the equation. If you're looking at this on
Right.
and on Pivotal, they does take sleet out of those maps. It's just pure snow. They have separate maps for ice. I just want to let you know that. So this is once again, we've had a few of these like this, Joe, where including the blizzard, which took a track pretty far south across the Gulf states, and then made the turn up the East Coast. This one is closer to the coast, obviously, on the 3-kilometer NAM, and you see that purple area of sleet. So that could be one of the reasons why the NAM might have high numbers in some places, because it may be showing, sleet or snow. On the other hand, it really did show some 6-inch amounts in Philadelphia, near Trenton, down to Wilmington. And it's not inconceivable that the heavier snows will be in that area and just inland of the coast because of the timing factor and where you're going to have your maximum snow growth. Because if you notice here on the NAM, you get a lot of snow growth that goes on tomorrow morning into early afternoon, and then it starts to weaken as the low moves away to the east. But I kind of thought it was a pretty good representation of what's going to happen tomorrow with respect to this system. I guess the only argument, the only thing I might have a problem with is maybe it has the surface low a little bit too, maybe a shade. The 3 kilometers okay. The 12-kilometer NAM I think had a too deep a low too far north and west, in my opinion. But this one's more in line with the European, and I think it makes sense.
I'm thinking that the heaviest round of precipitation, be it rain, sleet, snow, is going to be concentrated in a 3-hour interval between approximately 10 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. That's when I think the fur will be flying, so to speak. So depending upon whether you're snow or snow changing to rain, that'll be the thing that will determine what your final accumulation is going to be. Because after 1 o'clock, Joe, the models, all the models, seem to be saying the proverbial spigot is going to get gradually shut off.
Yeah.
And we're not going to see, we'll still see some precipitation after 1 o'clock, of course, but it's going to rapidly wind down. And all we'll probably be seeing by mid to late afternoon is just some lingering scattered snow shower and flurry activity. And probably it will be all over, said and done by nightfall tomorrow. But I think that whatever we get tomorrow is going to come during that 3-hour interval from about 10 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. And thank you, Leon Probitsky, who hit Super Chats, first one tonight to do so. And I'm wondering, Leon, why you say that you wish that you lived up in my neck of the woods as opposed to where I guess you really are a snow lover. But if you lived up here, if you do come up here tomorrow, I hope you help me with the clearing away of the snow because, Joe, for the umpteenth time this winter, I'm going to remember this winter as the winter of the heavy spackle snow. I mean, we have not had any snow, save for the big blizzard a month ago. We have not had any snow of the light, puffy, powdery variety. We have always had, we had it just a couple of days ago, and looks like we're going to have it tomorrow, the heavy consistency, the heavy, wet, slushy snow that's difficult even for snow blowers to get rid of. But you got to push that thing around. But that looks like what we're going to be in line for tomorrow here. And that plus, again, the very strong winds tomorrow afternoon. If enough of that heavy stuff falls on power lines and with the wind blowing around, there is certainly the threat or chance for some power outages tomorrow. So, Leon, I don't know why you'd love to live up here, but if that's the lay of the land. That's what you deal with if you live up here in Putnam Valley. That's what we always seem to deal with, at least especially this winter season.
What do you think of this? I brought up the 850 F Gen, and I'm just kind of curious here because, this is at. I know you're on a bit of a delay. I don't know if you can pull up the map in front of you, but I switched to the 12-kilometer NAM because it looked like the 3-kilometer had a lot of noise. Then I looked at the 12-kilometer NAM and I said this one has a lot of noise too on it. But
Yeah.
if I'm reading this correctly, there is actually a fairly decent amount of FGen that goes across eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. This is right. This is at 11 o'clock in the morning. And then there looks like there's still some more FGen going into the afternoon. The first batch is stronger. The second batch is a little weaker, but it's still not too shabby looking. And then it looks like we've got waves of FGen coming through all day. A big one in the morning, and that moves out probably about 1 or 2 o'clock. There's a little gap. There's one right behind it that moves through between 3 and 5 o'clock, and then still another that comes through around 7 o'clock. That might be the reason why the NAM lingers the precip near the coast till about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. But I don't know. This doesn't look too shabby as far as the FGen is concerned.
Well, this is the 850 FGen. I usually look at the
You want to look at the
700.
700? So let's look at the 700 then. I'm not the sort of creature to deny you your FGen, just so you know. Hang on, that's the 500. So the 700.
I don't know if he's.
It's a
I don't
nice
know
little
if he's watching.
shortwave there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, Joe, even here too. I mean, there's some little uh, little bit of omega that goes up around 9 a.m. from the south, and then you got I guess because the upper trough swings in from the west. It looks like it brings through a lot of omega around during the day, but the strongest omega is definitely just west and north of New York City, western New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and then it swings some of that remaining omega eastward across Long Island late in the afternoon and evening.
I don't know whether or not he's watching, but a mutual friend of ours, and I went to college with him, Pete Bergman, used to say, as soon as the northwest wind kicks in, the precipitation gets kicked out or cut off. And I think what we're going to see tomorrow, Joe, in the late morning to early afternoon, is the front coming through, ushering in the colder air with the actual frontal passages where we're going to get the major burst of precipitation. And by the way, don't rule out now the possibility of a little lightning and thunder.
I was going to say.
The Storm Prediction Center has indeed placed the tri-state area in general thunderstorm possibilities here, not marginal or a slight risk, but at least they do now mention that there could be some lightning and thunder with this frontal passage tomorrow. And then after that, as the cold air comes roaring in on northwesterly winds, it'll be interesting to see whether or not if what you're saying with the FGen is right, we have a couple of bursts lingering through the remainder of the afternoon, or whether or not it just cuts right off and all we'll have is just a lot of blowing of snow and whatever. Another thing to consider for tomorrow, if you're looking for snow accumulations, is the fact that the initial burst of rain is going to make the ground quite wet, and so when it does transition over or change over to snow, it's going to have a little bit of a time accumulating on that wet ground initially, unless we have something the equivalent of a flash freeze. I'm not sure. I guess we're
Or we just
verging on,
or we get some really good intensity. At least if you go to
and we
heavy
saw the
heavy snow
intensity,
right off the bat.
and we saw intensity here just a couple of days ago, as the noon to 2 o'clock here, where it was really coming down and starting to accumulate. Up until then, on blacktop up here, we weren't getting much of anything, but it did intensify. We did get the intensity, and we did get accumulation. And Moi had to go out with the shovel, which is something Moi did not particularly care to do, but he had to
All right.
because that's the way it goes.
Yes, you do as you're told.
Yeah.
So, for our friends that are watching across the South, we don't want to leave them out. You can see the snow. This is at uh, 11 o'clock tonight in northern Mississippi, northwest Alabama, as the low begins to form and move eastward. We'll have rain moving into North Georgia and the western Carolinas after about 1 a.m. and then probably around 4 or 5 4 or 5 a.m. We'll be changing over to sleet. You see the purple area there of sleet and maybe even a brief period of moderate snow. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see that. And then tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., it's starting to wind down. Meanwhile, you see the rain moving up the eastern seaboard. You see the snow overnight spreading across West Virginia and Pennsylvania. The rain right along the immediate coast. This is at 10 a.m. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is 10 a.m. and it's sleet on the Pennsylvania side of the New Jersey border. By 11 a.m., the sleet line is on the NAM anyways at New York City, and by noon it's east of New York City into western Connecticut, western Long Island, and by 1 o'clock it's progressing even further to the east. But you'll notice too after 1 o'clock there's like a little break there, and then there's one last arm that's down through New Jersey and Pennsylvania. That swings around, and as the north winds go more northwesterly, you start to see some drying and weakening of the snow area, but the model does linger some snow at least through the late afternoon and evening, early evening before it all goes away. And then, of course, we'll be blowing away with the wind of 20 to 30 miles an hour with gusts probably between 40 and 50, I think is pretty fair to say with this.
Yep. Yep. Especially if you're right down by the water, that wind is really going to be fierce late tomorrow, especially into a good part of tomorrow night, a howling wind. And as I mentioned here, we always know when the winds start really picking up because you can actually hear them. I guess hear them through the trees or whatever. But and really up until early tomorrow, the winds really aren't going to be much of a factor. But it's almost going to be like you flicking a switch. One moment they're not doing anything, and all of a sudden, boom, the winds will really begin to rev up. And once they start revving, they're going to be revving for a while into tomorrow night and into at least a part of the day on Sunday.
Looks like after about the upper trough reaches the coast about 8 or 9 o'clock, so probably in the evening. So probably once that happens, that's probably when we'll start to see the winds howling from the northwest during the night, Saturday night, and into Sunday morning. And of course, the trough pulls away and moves on out. I did not see the late afternoon GFS, so this will be my first look at that, and then we could take a look at the European. But you can see the same idea, of course, with the trough here at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening, reaching the coast and then lifting up to the north. Of course, if these maps would ever load, I only have one frame up here so far. All right, here they come. They're starting to roll. Now they're starting to come in. Now I got 3 frames. But there's your trough as it approaches from the west. All right, starting from tonight. So that's right now, 8 o'clock. And it swings around. And there it is at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And then, of course, it lifts on up into eastern Canada and goes goodbye. And the trough pulls out. We get into a nice little ridge position for the first part of next week. which will be the recovery phase. Now let's take a look. I want to take a look at what it does on the radar view here.
And while you're doing that, Brendan Doherty, thank you very much for hitting super chats. And he said, I finally got the Foose data with a smiley emoji there, looking pretty good. Another smiley emoji. So I guess if you like bombs in terms of storms, then you'll like what the Foose happens to say for this system coming in tomorrow.
Now the GFS, the radar presentation of the GFS, Joe, by 1 o'clock, it's snowing in almost all of Connecticut except the southeast, all of Long Island except eastern Long Island, and everywhere west of there. So I think the GFS probably is telling us that you know I rather than say it comes in faster, I just think maybe the low might be a little faster. In other words, the time frames all stay the same in terms of how long the window is. But if the GFS shows it changing at 11 a.m., it probably means that the snow will end 6 hours later at 5 because it's faster with the low. That's
Right.
I think that either way, if you see a model that prolongs precip for a couple of extra hours, it's probably because it's about a couple of extra hours slower. It's not that you're getting a longer period of warmer air or the cold air is taking longer to get in. It's just displace everything by 1 or 2 hours in either direction. So it's consistent with what all the other models are doing. I don't see anything too radical here. And with respect to snowfall, well, I did see it on the pivotal maps. You know, I forgot which one it was. I think it was the HRRR today. I pulled up the HRRR and the snowfall forecast maps. I pulled it up on Pivotal, and this was after I drew my new snow forecast and off the and then I looked at the 18Z HRRR snow map. I looked at all the other maps on the HRRR, but I didn't look at the snow map until after I drew mine, and it looked the same. And it was like I have to tell you quite honestly, I don't like when that happens because that makes me very nervous because that means there's a high likelihood that it's not gonna be correct.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. You scratch your head and saying, "Really? I'm the same as that? What did I do wrong?"
Yeah. So the GFS lines up about the same as the others. Everyone is gonna, there's something a little different about each one. So just you pick the one you like. And the new European, let's see. Yeah, the European, the low is offshore by a fairly decent distance there, 38.4 and 72.75, a 989 low that passes just east of Cape Cod at 1 o'clock in the
Hmm.
afternoon on Saturday, and then of course at 21Z at 4 p.m. There's still some precip going on, and it's just kind of winding down as the low is all the way up into New Brunswick by then as a 68 low, which is fairly deep, and of course the gradient is nice and tight. So I mean at this point it's kind of like it's there's not much. I don't know that there's much more we can add. You know what I do want to look at, by the way, since you brought it up before. Let's look at. I want to look at SPC because there are some severe weather issues going on. We should take a look at that. SPC has a enhanced risk this evening in southwest Georgia and in the Florida Panhandle, and the slight risk runs up to about Atlanta. So you go from just north and west of New Orleans to about Montgomery to Atlanta, and then into northwestern South Carolina, and then it kind of tails off there in North Carolina and comes back down to the coast, the marginal risk into southern Virginia. We have an enhanced risk also indicated for tomorrow, and I'm not surprised at this. They did push the marginal risk line, Joe, almost to Cape May by SPC, and they've got enhanced risk into southeastern Virginia, coastal North and South Carolina, the slight risk going all the way down into northern and central Florida, with a little bit of marginal risk on either side of the slight risk. So we are going to be paying a little bit. We're going to be paying some attention to the severe weather developments with this particular storm, and we might as well just bring up the radar bonus, and I'll bring the radar up. and see what's going on tonight. And we do have some scattered, couple of special marine warnings and one severe thunderstorm warning. Looks like right over Orleans Parish, if I'm not mistaken. And there you can see, and this, by the way, is at 8:12 p.m. Eastern Time, in case you're watching this on a replay. And up into the Florida, and we've got some rain now off the North Carolina coast, and you can see the areas of snow that are breaking out from Arkansas to Tennessee, on north and east into Kentucky and Ohio. That area is moving northeastward, and also seeing a little bit of snow already up into western New York. This could be one of those rare instances, Mr. Rayo. I have my favorite rule. One of my favorite rules is when it starts snowing in upstate New York and Vermont before it starts snowing here. That's not a good sign. But in this particular setup, it doesn't really apply that much.
Right. Right. This is kind of like I won't say unique situation, but it's one that just doesn't fit. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole,
Yeah,
so to speak.
it's a little bit of a
I'm
difference.
impressed. I'm impressed by the fact that the SPC has for tomorrow, right along the Mid-Atlantic coast, the enhanced uh, thunderstorm threat. I mean, that's something. Kind of reminds me of. It really isn't, because it's not the same situation. We talked about this yesterday or the day before, but it's the same time of the year, and actually, it's the same time of the week. I mean, the great superstorm of '93 was Saturday, and this is a Saturday system coming in for tomorrow. And while it may not have the potency of the storm of '93, it is certainly one that is going to be reckoned with, and it'll be interesting to see when it's all over, said and done, what we end up with in its aftermath.
It does have some things to do. It won't be
Yeah,
it won't be like that, but it'll do its thing in 6 to 8 hours. Put down what it puts down, and then, as I said at the beginning of the show, I sure as heck hope that it's the last one, because
yeah,
I'm getting very uh, tired, punchy. I think that's a good word. But
right.
that's a good word to use here. I'm getting punchy, and I'll just verbally tell you the snowfall amounts on the European. Okay, it gives Joe. Oddly enough, the European is not showing a whole lot of snow to the northwest. It's almost the same as what it has to the southeast. It's been like this for a while. I don't know that that's correct. I don't think it is, because I'm forecasting higher amounts northwest. But it's got 3 inches for Islip, 4 inches for New York City, just under 4 inches for Trenton, Philadelphia, a little over 3 inches in Wilmington, Delaware, 4 inches at Allentown, but it only has 5.3 at Scranton, 4.7 at Middletown, 4.3 at Poughkeepsie, 3.6 at Waterbury, 3.1 at Hartford, Oneonta 5.3, Albany 4.6. That seems a little odd
That
to
doesn't
me.
happen. Yeah,
That seems a little odd. I mean, I could see how the numbers on the coast could happen. I don't know that I would forecast them this high, but I could see how that could happen. Okay, but to have numbers that are not that much higher going northwest on the European, I don't know. That doesn't quite jive with me. But maybe it knows something that I don't.
yeah. We shall see, Joe. We shall know.
Oh, I should
So
I should
you wanted.
I should look really quick. Let me just look really quick at what it gives me. So, because after all, it's all about me. Uh,
Oh yeah, it'll give you 8.
It could give me 8. Doesn't mean I'm going to get 8. It gives me, it gives me 2. Because I'm in Union County, so it gives me 2. And north and west of me, near the triangle of Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina, where the borders meet at this one special point, the triple point. There it has like 4 to 6. So I'm sorry, 3 to 5, 3 to 5. Okay, so that's it. But who knows? Let me see what the GFS gave me. And the GFS gave me, come on, Come on.
While we're waiting for the GFS, thank you,
Sparacio.
Trish Paracchio. Thanks for the great forecast always, Joe and Joe. And we thank you, Trish, for watching and supporting us here on the Joe Chiaffi YouTube channel.
Yes. Thank you, Trish. On the NBC radio network. Uh,
Yeah.
Actually, the new GFS buries Northwest Georgia with 8 to 12. Gives Chattanooga a foot in Tennessee. And that's right on the Tennessee, Georgia, very close to the border of Tennessee and Georgia. So, you know what? I will be getting up at 5 or 6 a.m. If I hear the pings of the ice pellets, if they wake me up early, I will not object. And as a matter of fact, I need to run to the paper bag store because I'm low on milk.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying I got to go to the supermarket to get, I really do need milk and bread, regardless, milk, bread, and eggs, which,
Oh,
regardless of whether there's a snowstorm or not, I need them. So I have to run out and get them. Uh, I'm trying to think what we could do here. So it's 8:15. I think we should say goodnight. Are you in for a show tomorrow around noontime?
sure. I think so.
Okay. So if we do that, then let's take Sunday off. Okay. So uh,
Yes.
so uh,
Most.
so check us out tomorrow. We'll be on at noon, right here on my YouTube channel. So mark it down. Of course, if you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, you'll get the notification that Joe and I will be doing a noon show on Saturday. So we hope to see you there. Yes, Christinapedia, the paper bag store. That's what I call the supermarket. It's
Yeah.
I stole that from Lily Tomlin. She and I are very close, so she wouldn't mind that I use that line. So anyhow, everybody
Well,
have
don't laugh. If you don't bring your own, if you don't bring like a canvas bag to the supermarket up here, Joe, they'll charge you for a paper bag.
Yeah. No, they don't charge you here for bags. I bring my own bags, but sometimes what they'll do is that I'll tell them I brought my own bags. They'll bag it in a plastic bag and then put the plastic bag in my cloth bag. I'm like, I don't want the plastic. I've got so much of it as it is. I bring it back to the store and put it in their recycle bin. So I don't want just put it in there. Just I don't want to bring home plastic. But I don't know. Everybody's got their different ways of doing things. Yes, Scott, exactly. Bread, milk, bread, wine, and cigars. Cigars I got plenty of. Wine I got plenty of, even though I can't drink it. I can cook with it. And oh, you know what? Before we go, let me show you something. So this, I don't know. Make sure you can see this. I'm sure you can. So this is a 15-pound rear end of a pig.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm making pulled pork. So on Sunday, for when my daughter and my son-in-law and my grandsons come. So I'm making a pulled pork. I prepped it now, so it was resting. It's absorbing all the herbs and the paprika and the garlic and the sage and rosemary and olive oil. So it's absorbing that now. It's going to be resting, and then it's going to go in the oven tomorrow night when I go to bed at 10 o'clock, and it's going to cook for 12 hours. And then we're going to rip it apart come Sunday afternoon.
I hope you still have power.
You know, don't I whatever they were doing, they didn't do it today, so I didn't lose power. I don't want to lose power again. I lost it twice yesterday, and that was or 2 days ago. And when was it? Yesterday or 2 days ago? Was it yesterday?
What worries me, Joe, is that you and I are joined at the hip. And if you've had your computer hell, now I've had my computer hell. You went through your power problems. God help if I have to go through power
Oh,
problems
and
over
by
the week.
and by the way, my molar is hurting me.
Oh,
And you
please.
know what happened?
Well, yours,
And you know what happened the last time somebody needed a crown?
yes. Well, you have yours on the lower left. I have my problems in my mouth on the upper right.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we're done.
Is that Jake here in the background?
Is that who? JJ?
I think I hear a door.
Oh no, there's feedback in here. There's a little bit of feedback.
Oh,
No, JJ's sleeping on the bed during the show, which is what he usually does. Okay, see you guys tomorrow at noon. See you at noon. Bye, everybody.
bye bye.